Have you ever wondered if love, the kind of love that flips your entire world upside down, is just a fairy tale? A myth spun by rom-coms and sappy novels? Picture this, a woman tough as nails, heart locked tighter than a vault, who swore love was nothing but a lie, until one man, one unexpected stranger, walked into her life and unraveled everything she thought she knew. In the next few minutes, I'm going to pull you into a story so gripping, so heart-wrenching, and so real that you won't be able to look away. You're here because you're curious, maybe even a little hopeful, wondering if love can truly change someone's world. Stick with me, and I promise you'll get the answers you came for. Answers that might just make you believe in something you thought was impossible. Let's dive into the mystery of She Thought Love Was a Myth, until one man changed her world, and trust me, you're going to want to watch this until the very end. Imagine a woman named Ellie, living in the hustle and bustle of New York City, where dreams are chased but hearts are often left bruised. Ellie's the kind of person you'd spot in a crowded coffee shop, earbuds in, typing furiously on her laptop, her eyes sharp and focused, like she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders. She's 32, a successful marketing exec, with a sleek apartment, a killer wardrobe, and a reputation for getting things done. But beneath that polished exterior? A heart that's been shattered one too many times. Growing up, Ellie watched her parents' marriage crumble, heard the empty promises of boyfriends who never stuck around, and saw friends fall apart chasing love that never lasted. By the time she hit her 20s, she'd made a vow to herself. Love was a myth, a trick, a waste of time. She poured her energy into her career, her friendships, her independence, convincing herself that she didn't need anyone to complete her. And honestly, she was doing just fine. Or so she thought. You see, Ellie's story isn't just about a woman who doesn't believe in love. It's about what happens when life throws someone into your path who challenges everything you've built your world around. Have you ever met someone who made you question your deepest beliefs? Someone who, without even trying, made you feel like maybe, just maybe, you've been wrong all along? That's exactly what's about to happen to Ellie, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. Now, let's talk about you for a second. I know you're watching this because you've felt that tug in your chest before. The one that wonders if there's something more out there, something bigger than the everyday grind. Maybe you've been hurt, like Ellie, and you've built walls to protect yourself. Or maybe you're a hopeless romantic, secretly hoping that love really can conquer all. Either way, this story is for you. It's for the dreamers, the skeptics, the broken-hearted, and the ones who still believe in second chances. I'm not just here to tell you a story. I'm here to make you feel something, to make you root for Ellie, to make you wonder what you'd do if you were in her shoes. This isn't one of those fluffy, predictable tales where everything falls into place by minute 2. No, this is raw, real, and full of twists that'll keep you glued to your screen. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what it takes to change a heart that's sworn off love forever. But to get there, you've got to stick with me, because every moment of this journey is leading up to something you won't see coming. Let's set the scene. It's a chilly autumn evening in Manhattan, the kind where the leaves crunch under your boots and the air smells like possibility. Ellie's just left her office after a 12-hour day, her mind buzzing with deadlines and client emails. She's walking through Central Park, her usual shortcut home, when she notices a guy sitting on a bench, sketching in a worn-out notebook. He's got this quiet intensity about him. Messy dark hair, a leather jacket that's seen better days, and eyes that seem to hold 1,000 untold stories. His name's Caleb, and he's not like anyone Ellie's ever met. He's an artist, a wanderer, someone who lives for the moment rather than the plan. There's something about him that catches her off guard, something that makes her pause for just a second longer than she should. Maybe it's the way he looks at the world, like he sees beauty in the chaos, or maybe it's the way he smiles at her, like he knows something she doesn't. Whatever it is, Ellie shakes it off and keeps walking, because she's not about to let some random guy derail her perfectly controlled life. But here's the thing about fate. It doesn't care about your plans. That brief moment in the park? It's the spark that's about to set Ellie's world on fire. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does a single glance change someone's entire life? How does a woman who's spent years building walls let them crumble for a stranger? That's the mystery we're unraveling together. Caleb isn't just some charming guy with a sketchbook. He's got his own scars, his own secrets, and a past that's as complicated as Ellie's. He's not trying to win her over or prove a point. He's just being himself, and somehow, that's enough to make Ellie question everything. Over the next few weeks, their paths keep crossing in ways that feel almost too perfect to be coincidence. A chance encounter at a bookstore, a shared laugh at a street musician's performance, a late-night conversation that stretches into the early hours. Each moment chips away at Ellie's defenses, but she's not going down without a fight. She's stubborn, fiercely independent, and terrified of letting anyone in. And Caleb? He's patient, but he's not perfect. He's got his own demons, and they're about to collide with Ellie's in ways neither of them could have predicted. Here's where I need you to really lean in, because this story isn't just about Ellie and Caleb. It's about the big questions we all wrestle with. What does it mean to truly let someone in? How do you trust again after you've been burned? And most importantly, is love worth the risk? I'm talking to you, the person who's maybe been through a breakup that left you reeling, or the one who's wondering if you'll ever find the one. This video is your chance to see those questions play out in a story that's as messy and beautiful as real life. I'm not going to spoil the twists or give away the ending, but I will tell you this. Every second of this journey is building toward a moment that'll leave you speechless. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, and you're going to feel like you're right there with Ellie as she navigates this roller coaster. So don't you dare click away. Grab a snack, get cozy, and let's keep going together. As we follow Ellie's story, you'll see themes that hit close to home. Trust, vulnerability, and the courage it takes to rewrite your own story. Ellie's not just fighting against love, she's fighting against herself, against the voice in her head that says it's safer to stay alone. Caleb, on the other hand, is a wild card. He's not the knight in shining armor you might expect, but he's real, flawed, and undeniably human. Their connection isn't love at first sight. It's a slow burn, a collision of two people who are both running from something and searching for something at the same time. You'll meet other characters too. Ellie's best friend Mia, who's all heart and zero filter, and Caleb's older brother Jack, who carries a weight that threatens to pull everyone down. Together, they create a world that feels alive, vibrant, and full of stakes. You're not just watching a story, you're living it, feeling every high and low right alongside them. Now, let's talk about why you need to keep watching. I know you're busy, and there are a million other videos out there vying for your attention. But this one? This one's different. This is the kind of story that sticks with you, that makes you think about your own life, your own choices, your own heart. I'm not here to waste your time with fluff or cliches. I'm here to give you something real, something that'll make you feel seen and understood. You came to this video looking for answers, maybe even a little hope, and I'm promising you right now that you're going to get it. But you've got to stay with me, because the best parts are still to come. Ellie's about to face a moment that'll change everything. A moment that'll test her courage, her heart, and her belief in what's possible. And Caleb? He's got a secret that could either bring them closer or tear them apart forever. Picture this. It's a rainy night in the city, and Ellie's standing outside Caleb's tiny art studio, her heart pounding like it's about to burst. She's spent weeks wrestling with her feelings, telling herself she's not falling for him, that she's stronger than this. But something's pulled her here, something she can't ignore. She knocks on the door, her breath catching in her throat, and when Caleb opens it, his face is a mix of surprise and something else. Something that looks a lot like fear. "Ellie," he says, his voice low, "you shouldn't be here." And in that moment, everything shifts. What's he hiding? Why does he look like he's carrying the weight of the world? And why, despite every instinct screaming at her to run, does Ellie feel like she's exactly where she's supposed to be? You're going to have to keep watching to find out, because this is where the real story begins, and trust me, you're not ready for what's coming next. Rain pelted the cracked pavement outside Caleb's art studio, the kind of cold, relentless downpour that made New York City feel like it was holding its breath. Ellie stood there, her coat soaked through, her heart hammering as she processed Caleb's words. "You shouldn't be here." His voice was soft but heavy, like he was pleading with her to turn around and walk away, yet his eyes, those deep, stormy eyes, seemed to beg her to stay. For a moment, neither of them moved, the tension between them as thick as the fog rolling off the Hudson. Ellie, who'd spent years perfecting the art of keeping people at arm's length, felt something unfamiliar stirring inside her. A pull, a need to know why this man, this stranger who'd wandered into her life, was looking at her like she was both his salvation and his undoing. She didn't know it yet, but that rainy night was about to peel back layers of Caleb's past, introduce shadows that would complicate her carefully controlled world, and set the stage for a story that would test her in ways she never imagined. You, watching this right now, are about to step deeper into Ellie's journey, where every answer leads to a new question, and every moment pushes her closer to a truth she's not sure she's ready to face. Stick with me, because this is where the stakes get higher, the mystery deepens, and the heart of she thought love was a myth, Until one man changed her world starts to beat louder than ever. Let's rewind a bit to understand how Ellie got here. Standing on the edge of a moment that could change everything. Ellie Harper wasn't always the guarded, ambitious woman she is now. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, she was the girl who dreamed big. Scribbling poetry in her notebook, planning adventures to far-off places, believing in love stories that lasted forever. But life has a way of rewriting your dreams. Her parents' divorce when she was 12 was the first crack in her heart. A messy split filled with shouting matches and broken promises. By the time she was a teenager, she'd seen enough of her mother's tears and her father's absence to decide that love was a gamble she'd never take. She threw herself into school, then college, then a cutthroat career in marketing, building a life that looked perfect on the outside but felt hollow in quiet moments. Her best friend Mia, a bubbly photographer with a knack for seeing through Ellie's walls, was the only one who ever got close to the real her. Mia would tease her about being allergic to romance, but Ellie would just laugh it off, insisting she was happier alone. Yet, as she stood outside Caleb's studio, her breath visible in the chilly air, she couldn't shake the feeling that her carefully constructed life was about to unravel. Have you ever felt like you were standing at a crossroads, knowing that one choice could change everything? That's where Ellie is right now, and it's a place that's going to pull you in, because her story is as much about her past as it is about the man who's about to turn her future upside down. Caleb, on the other hand, is a puzzle wrapped in a mystery. At 34, he's lived a life that's equal parts adventure and heartbreak. Born in Chicago, he grew up in a family that was warm but fractured. His mother was a painter who filled their home with color, while his father was a mechanic who struggled with a temper and a bottle. Caleb inherited his mother's artistic soul, sketching and painting since he could hold a pencil, but he also carried the weight of his father's mistakes. When he was 19, a tragedy struck that he still doesn't talk about, something that sent him wandering across the country, from Seattle's rainy streets to New Orleans' vibrant chaos, chasing beauty and running from pain. Now in New York, he's a street artist by day, selling sketches to tourists, and a dreamer by night, pouring his soul into canvases that no one's ever seen. But there's a shadow over Caleb, one that Ellie glimpsed in his eyes that night in the park. It's not just his past. It's his brother Jack, a brooding ex-cop who shows up in Caleb's life at the worst possible times. Jack's got a protective streak, but he's also got secrets, ones that tie back to the reason Caleb left Chicago all those years ago. As Ellie steps into Caleb's world, she's stepping into a web of unspoken truths, where every connection comes with a cost. You're probably wondering what Jack's hiding, aren't you? Keep watching, because that's a thread we're going to pull on soon, and it's going to complicate everything. Back to that rainy night. Ellie didn't walk away when Caleb told her she shouldn't be there. Instead, she pushed past him, her curiosity outweighing her caution, and stepped into the dimly lit studio. The space was a chaos of creativity, canvases stacked against walls, paint cans scattered like confetti, a single bulb casting long shadows. Caleb's latest painting sat on an easel, unfinished but striking, a woman's silhouette against a stormy sky, her face obscured but somehow familiar. Ellie's breath caught, a mix of awe and unease. "Is that me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Caleb didn't answer right away, his jaw tight, his hands stuffed in his pockets. Instead, he changed the subject, offering her a mug of coffee and a dry towel, his casual tone masking something deeper. They talked for hours about art, about dreams, about the little things that make life feel alive. But every so often, Caleb's gaze would drift to the door, like he was waiting for someone, or something to interrupt. Ellie noticed, and it planted a seed of doubt. Was he hiding from someone? Was he in trouble? Or was there something about her that made him so guarded? You know that feeling when you're drawn to someone but sense they're holding back? That's what Ellie's grappling with, and it's pulling her in two directions. Toward Caleb, and toward the safety of the life she's always known. Meanwhile, there's another layer to this story brewing, one that Ellie doesn't even know about yet. Mia, her best friend, has been watching Ellie's subtle changes with a mix of excitement and worry. Mia's the opposite of Ellie. Open-hearted, impulsive, always chasing the next big feeling. She's been pushing Ellie to loosen up for years, but now that Caleb's in the picture, Mia's not sure what to think. She's seen Ellie get hurt before, and there's something about Caleb that feels unpredictable. Mia's got her own subplot unfolding too. She's been secretly seeing someone, a musician named Leo who's charming but unreliable, and it's starting to mess with her head. Mia's story mirrors Ellie's in a way. Both women are wrestling with trust, with the fear of opening up, with the question of whether love is worth the chaos it brings. One night, while Ellie's at Caleb's studio, Mia's at a dive bar with Leo, listening to him play a soulful set that makes her heart ache. But when he brushes off her questions about his late-night disappearances, Mia starts to wonder if she's falling for someone who's just as elusive as Caleb might be. You're probably sensing a pattern here. Love, in all its forms, is messy, and it's about to get messier for both of these women. As Ellie and Caleb's connection deepens, the city itself becomes a character in their story. New York, with its crowded streets and hidden corners, is a place where you can lose yourself or find something new. For Ellie, it's starting to feel like the latter. She's noticing things she never did before, the way the lights reflect off wet pavement, the sound of a saxophone drifting from a subway station, the way Caleb's laugh makes her forget her to-do list. But with every step closer to him, the stakes get higher. Jack, Caleb's brother, makes an unexpected appearance one evening. His presence like a storm cloud. He's polite to Ellie, but there's an edge to him, a warning in his eyes when he looks at Caleb. "You sure about this?" Jack mutters to his brother when he thinks Ellie's out of earshot. Caleb's response is too quiet to catch, but it's enough to make Ellie's stomach twist. What's Jack so worried about? Is it about her, or is it something bigger? Something tied to the past Caleb won't talk about? And then there's the painting, the one of the woman who looks like Ellie. She can't stop thinking about it, can't shake the feeling that it's more than just art. Is it a coincidence, or is Caleb trying to tell her something? You're dying to know, aren't you? I get it, because I'm right there with you, and I promise we're going to dig deeper. Here's where the tension really starts to coil. Ellie's back at her apartment the next morning, replaying the night in her head, when she gets a text from Caleb. "Meet me at the pier tonight. I need to tell you something." Her heart skips, a mix of excitement and dread. She's falling for him. She can't deny it anymore, but every instinct she's honed over years of self-protection is screaming that this is a bad idea. She calls Mia, spilling everything, and Mia's response is classic. "Ellie, you're overthinking this. Go. Live a little. But if he's a creep, I'm keying his car." Ellie laughs, but the unease lingers. What does Caleb need to tell her? Is it about the painting? About Jack? Or is it something that'll make her wish she'd never knocked on his door? As she heads to the pier, the city buzzing around her, Ellie's caught in a whirlwind of hope and fear, her heart and head at war. And you, watching this, are right there with her, wondering what's waiting at the end of that pier. Don't even think about clicking away, because the next part of this story is going to pull you in deeper than ever, with a twist that'll leave you gasping and a secret that's about to change everything. The pier stretched out into the dark, restless waters of the Hudson, its weathered planks glistening under the glow of flickering streetlights as Ellie made her way toward the spot where Caleb had asked to meet. The air was thick with the scent of salt and the distant hum of the city, but all Ellie could hear was the thud of her own heartbeat, a rhythm that seemed to echo the question burning in her mind. What was Caleb about to tell her? She'd spent the day wrestling with her feelings, torn between the spark she felt with him and the nagging voice that warned her to keep her guard up. This wasn't just about a guy, it was about whether she could let go of the walls she'd built around her heart. Walls that had kept her safe but also kept her lonely. As she spotted Caleb leaning against the railing, his silhouette sharp against the city skyline, her breath caught. He looked different tonight, his usual easy smile replaced by a tension that made her stomach twist. You, sitting there watching this, are about to dive into a moment that flips everything Ellie thought she knew upside down. The stakes are skyrocketing, the mystery is thickening, and an unexpected twist is about to pull you deeper into she thought love was a myth, until one man changed her world. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single second of what's coming next. Ellie approached Caleb slowly, her boots clicking against the pier, her mind racing with possibilities. Was he about to confess something about his past? Was it about the painting, the one with the woman who looked eerily like her? Or was it something worse, something that would prove her instincts right and send her running back to the safety of her solitary life? Caleb turned to face her, his eyes searching hers, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy, charged with unspoken questions. Finally, he took a deep breath and said, "Ellie, there's something I've been keeping from you. It's not what you think, but it's big." Her heart lurched, but before he could continue, a sharp voice cut through the night. "Caleb, don't." It was Jack, his brother, stepping out of the shadows like a ghost, his face hard and unreadable. Ellie froze, her pulse spiking. Jack's presence was like a storm rolling in, dark and unpredictable, and the way he looked at Caleb, like he was trying to stop a train from derailing, sent a chill down her spine. What was going on? Why was Jack here? And what was he so desperate to keep Caleb from saying? You're probably feeling the same shock Ellie is right now, wondering how this brotherly intervention is about to change everything. Hang on tight, because this is where the story takes a turn you didn't see coming. Instead of backing down, Caleb squared his shoulders, his jaw tight. She deserves to know, Jack, he said, his voice low but firm. Ellie's mind spun. Know what? She opened her mouth to demand answers, but Jack stepped closer, his eyes flicking to her with a mix of suspicion and something softer. Regret, maybe? This isn't just about you two, Jack said, his words clipped. You tell her, and you're pulling her into something she can't walk away from. The cryptic warning hung in the air, and Ellie felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath her. Was Caleb involved in something dangerous? Was it tied to the tragedy he'd hinted at, the one that sent him running from Chicago all those years ago? Before she could press them, Jack's phone buzzed and he glanced at it, his expression darkening. We've got company, he muttered, grabbing Caleb's arm. Seconds later, the sound of footsteps echoed from the other end of the pier. Quick, purposeful and getting closer. Caleb's face paled, and he turned to Ellie, urgency in his eyes. Go. Nah. I'll find you later. But Ellie, stubborn as ever, wasn't about to run without answers. She planted her feet, defiance flaring. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening. And that's when the twist hit. A woman emerged from the darkness, her face half hidden by a hood, but her voice was unmistakable. Caleb, you can't keep running forever, she said, and Ellie's world tilted. Who was this woman, and why did her presence make Caleb look like he'd seen a ghost? Let's pause for a second to talk about you, the person watching this. I know you're hooked, because who wouldn't be? This story is hitting all the feels: suspense, romance, betrayal, and now a mysterious stranger who's just thrown a wrench into everything. You're probably yelling at your screen, wanting to know who this woman is and what she means to Caleb. Is she an ex? A friend? Or something far more complicated? I'm not going to spoil it yet, but I promise you, every piece of this puzzle is leading to a climax that'll leave your jaw on the floor. This is the kind of drama you came to YouTube for. Real, raw, and full of twists that keep you guessing. So grab your popcorn, mute your notifications, and let's keep unraveling this, because Ellie's not the only one whose world is about to get rocked. Back at the pier, the tension was suffocating. The woman stepped closer, her hood falling back to reveal sharp features and eyes that held a mix of pain and determination. She was older than Ellie, maybe late 30s, with a presence that commanded attention. Caleb's reaction was visceral. He took a step back, his hands clenched, like he was bracing for a blow. Jack, meanwhile, positioned himself between Caleb and the woman, his body language screaming protection. Ellie's mind raced, piecing together fragments. This wasn't just about Caleb's past, it was about something active, something happening right now. You don't get to do this, Sarah, Caleb said, his voice raw. Sarah. The name hit Ellie like a punch. Was this the woman from Caleb's past, the one tied to the tragedy he wouldn't talk about? Sarah's gaze shifted to Ellie, and for a split second, there was a flicker of recognition, like she knew more about Ellie than she should. You're the one from the painting, Sarah said, her tone unreadable. Ellie's breath hitched. The painting, the one in Caleb's studio, the one that looked like her, was suddenly at the center of this storm. How did Sarah know about it? And why did it feel like Ellie was being pulled into a story she hadn't signed up for? While this chaos unfolded on the pier, Mia's subplot was heating up across town. She was at Leo's apartment, her heart tangled in knots after another vague conversation about his disappearing acts. Leo was all charm on stage, his guitar riffs and soulful voice enough to make anyone fall, but off stage, he was a maze of half-truths. Mia, who'd always been the one to dive headfirst into love, was starting to feel the weight of doubt. That night, while Ellie was facing Caleb's secrets, Mia found something in Leo's jacket pocket, a crumpled note with a phone number and the words, "Meet me, usual spot." Her stomach dropped. Was Leo cheating? Or was it something else, something tied to the late-night calls he always took outside? Mia's story was mirroring Ellie's in a haunting way. Both women were chasing connection but stumbling into mysteries that threatened to break them. Mia tucked the note back in the pocket, her mind made up. She was going to confront Leo, no matter the cost. You can feel the parallel, can't you? Two friends, two hearts, both standing at the edge of truths they might not be ready to face. Back on the pier, The footsteps Ellie had heard earlier materialized into two men, tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in dark jackets. They didn't say a word, but their presence screamed trouble. Jack cursed under his breath, his hand instinctively moving to his side, like he was reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Sarah's expression didn't change, but her eyes darted between the men and Caleb, calculating. Ellie, caught in the middle, felt like she'd stepped into a movie. One where she didn't know the script. "Caleb, talk to me," she pleaded, her voice shaking but firm. He looked at her, his face a war of guilt and resolve. "I never meant for you to get caught up in this," he said. "But you're in it now." Before she could demand more, Sarah stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "They're not here for her, Caleb. They're here for you." The words landed like a bomb, and Ellie's world spun. Who were these men? What did they want with Caleb? And how was she, a woman who'd sworn off love, now standing in the middle of a confrontation that felt like it could end in disaster? You're on the edge of your seat, aren't you? Don't touch that back button, because the next part of this story is going to crank the suspense to 11, with a revelation that'll make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Caleb, Ellie, and the myth of love itself. The pier was a battlefield of shadows and secrets, the air crackling with tension as the two men in dark jackets closed in, their eyes locked on Caleb. Ellie's heart pounded, her mind a whirlwind of fear and defiance as she stood frozen, caught in a moment that felt like the culmination of every choice she'd made since that first glance in Central Park. Caleb's words, "You're in it now," echoed in her ears, a haunting reminder that she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Sarah's cryptic warning about the men being there for Caleb hung heavy, and Jack's protective stance only deepened the mystery. Who were these people, and what did they want with the man who'd turned Ellie's world upside down? You, watching this right now, are about to witness the explosive climax of She Thought Love Was a Myth, until one man changed her world, where every question finds an answer, every heart faces its truth, and a final twist will leave you speechless. This is the moment you've been waiting for, the one that ties every thread together and shows you what happens when love, trust, and secrets collide. So, settle in, because this ending is going to hit you right in the feels and stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Ellie's instinct was to run, to retreat to the safety of her old life, but something stronger, something she hadn't dared name until now, kept her rooted to the spot. She grabbed Caleb's arm, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Tell me the truth right now or I'm gone." Caleb's eyes met hers, raw and unguarded, and for the first time, she saw the weight he'd been carrying. Before he could speak, Sarah stepped forward, her voice cutting through the night like a blade. "They're here because of me," she said, her gaze flicking to the approaching men. "Caleb's been protecting me, and now you're caught in the crossfire." The revelation landed like a thunderclap. Sarah wasn't just a figure from Caleb's past. She was his sister, the one he'd never mentioned, the one tied to the tragedy that had shattered his life. Years ago in Chicago, Sarah had gotten tangled with a dangerous crowd, a debt that spiraled into violence and cost their mother her life. Caleb had taken the fall, leaving town to keep Sarah safe, but the past had caught up. The men on the pier weren't random thugs, they were enforcers, sent to collect a debt Sarah could never repay. Ellie's mind reeled. The painting, the one that looked like her, wasn't just art. It was Caleb's way of processing his fear, his hope, his belief that Ellie was the one person who could pull him out of the darkness. "You're feeling the weight of this, aren't you? The way love and loyalty can tangle with danger, pulling everyone into the storm." The climax erupted as Jack sprang into action, his ex-cop instincts kicking in. He shoved Caleb and Ellie behind a stack of crates, barking at Sarah to stay low. The men drew closer, one pulling a knife that glinted in the dim light. Ellie's breath hitched, but Caleb's hand found hers, his grip steady despite the fear in his eyes. "I'm not letting you get hurt," he whispered, and in that moment, Ellie knew she wasn't walking away. Not from him, not from this. Jack lunged at the first man, disarming him with a swift move, but the second was faster, landing a blow that sent Jack staggering. Sarah screamed, and Ellie, fueled by a surge of adrenaline, grabbed a loose plank and swung it, catching the second man off guard. The chaos was a blur, but it gave Jack the opening he needed to subdue both attackers, pinning them to the ground. Breathing hard, he looked at Caleb, a silent understanding passing between them. The danger wasn't over. These men were just the beginning. But for now the pier was theirs. Ellie's heart was still racing, but as she looked at Caleb, she felt something shift. She'd spent years believing love was a myth, a lie that left people broken, but here in the middle of this mess, she saw it for what it could be. messy, terrifying, and worth fighting for. You're probably cheering for Ellie right now, feeling that rush of triumph, but hold on, because the resolution is about to bring everything full circle. As the dust settled, Caleb pulled Ellie aside, his voice low and urgent. He told her everything. How he'd been running from his past, protecting Sarah, painting to keep his sanity. The woman in the painting wasn't just Ellie. It was his hope for a future where he wasn't defined by his mistakes. I didn't mean to drag you into this, he said, but you're the reason I want to stop running. Ellie's walls, the ones she'd built so carefully, crumbled. She didn't have all the answers, didn't know if they could outrun Sarah's debts or Jack's demons, but she knew she wanted to try, with Caleb. They kissed under the flickering lights of the pier, a moment of quiet amid the storm, sealing a promise to face whatever came next together. Across town, Mia's subplot found its own resolution. She confronted Leo about the note, expecting betrayal, but learned it was from his sister, who'd been struggling with addiction. Leo's late-night calls were about helping her, not hiding secrets. Mia, inspired by Ellie's courage, chose to trust him, opening her heart to a love that wasn't perfect but was real. Both women, in their own ways, had faced their fears, proving that love wasn't a myth, it was a choice, a risk, a leap into the unknown. You're feeling that warmth, that sense of closure, right? But don't get too comfortable, because there's one final twist waiting to blow your mind. A week later, Ellie and Caleb were in his studio, sorting through the aftermath. Sarah had gone into hiding, with Jack's help, and the enforcers were off their trail, for now. Ellie was looking at the painting again, the one that had haunted her, when she noticed something new. A small, hidden signature in the corner, not Caleb's but their mother's. Caleb's face softened as he explained. She started it before she died. I finished it for her, for you. The painting wasn't just a symbol of his hope. It was a bridge to his past, a way to honor the woman who'd taught him to see beauty in the world. Ellie's eyes filled with tears, not just for Caleb's loss but for the realization that love, in all its forms, was what kept people going. And then came the twist. As they packed up the studio, Ellie found a letter tucked inside one of Caleb's sketchbooks, addressed to her. It was from Sarah, written before she'd left. You're not just saving him, it read. You're saving us all. Ellie's breath caught. Sarah had known from that first moment on the pier that Ellie was the key to pulling Caleb and their family out of the shadows. The letter hinted at something bigger, a network of people tied to Sarah's past, and a cryptic promise, we'll meet again. Ellie looked at Caleb, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. Their story wasn't over. It was just beginning. You're stunned, aren't you? That final note, that hint of more to come, is what makes this unforgettable. So, what does this all mean for you, the person who's been with Ellie every step of the way? This story isn't just about love, it's about courage, about facing your fears, about choosing to believe in something even when it scares you. Ellie thought love was a myth, but Caleb, with all his flaws and secrets, showed her it was real, worth fighting for, worth risking everything for. Mia's journey, Jack's loyalty, Sarah's redemption, they all weave into a tapestry of human connection, reminding you that no one's story is ever truly finished. As you sit there, maybe wiping away a tear or smiling at the thought of Ellie and Caleb's future, take this with you. Love isn't perfect, but it's powerful. It's the spark that changes worlds, the choice that changes you. Thank you for sticking with this wild, emotional ride. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs a little hope, and let me know in the comments what you think Ellie and Caleb should do next. Because trust me, their adventure is far from over, and I can't wait to bring you more stories that make your heart race and your soul soar.